Hello everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about locks for water mouths and the incoming water direction. Now it does clearly state in many of the books that if you want to have a significant positive effect from water mouths, they must be locked. That's what they call that. And if it's not locked, it has very little effect. Now, some methods also require you to know the direction of the incoming water. Unfortunately, for many of these methods, the way in which you measure that incoming water is not always clear. Some are very clear, some are not. Now, in general, meandering rivers are much better than straight, fast-flowing rivers. For a river to meander, you have to have a relatively flat slope. It still has a slope, but it's not very big. And that allows a river to meander, and it also makes the river flow a lot slower. And this is called sentimental water in Feng Shui. You may hear that. Now here's an example of an unlocked water mouth. That's just basically natural. This is basically all flat land here. It just is where two rivers join. It can be locked by having a bridge cross it, and of course you'll have roads on each side. You can also lock it by having two hills on each side where the water goes between the two hills. And finally, you can also lock it by having a hill above the water mouth. That is, the water in all these cases are flowing from top to bottom. One thing they don't state is how close or how far can this be and still be effective. They just say, quote unquote, close. Now, I would assume in this case this would have to be closer because bridges are usually not that high. And in this case, I would assume that as long as this is a prominent feature where from the water mouth, that is, if it's the higher the hill is or the higher the mountain is, the farther back it can be, I assume that is the way it works. Now your house, in this case, would be somewhere between the water mouth and the hill. You wouldn't want it on the hill. Because in general, being on a hill and a hillside is not great in Feng Shui. It's better to be on a flatter piece of land. Now when it comes to how you measure incoming water, here's an example where you have a meandering river, and it will, of course, not go under your house, but it'll meander and come around your house. Now, there will be a point at which it's more or less facing your main door. Because this is on her, we only care about the facing direction of the main door. And we're assuming the main door is here, facing towards the river here. So you take a point here, and you can do this by satellite, that's the easiest. And you just look to see if there's a tangent point to this curve. And that's how you place the incoming water. Now the way you measure it, now in the last slide I didn't show a north because it doesn't matter. But here I'm just going to use the standard north that you would have in the Google Maps. It's usually upwards. And so then you would measure from north all the way around until you reach this point. And here it's at roughly 335 degrees. So this is the angle that is the appropriate angle. So assuming we have a water mouth down here, that will fix which of the 4 elemental rings you need to use. And that will tell you by where this line crosses your 12 chi cycle, this will tell you what direction your incoming water is. And there'll be some examples in some future videos. Now there is another method where maybe you don't have a water mouth, but you can see a portion of the river. And again, let's just say it's flowing from top to bottom. And in this case, what you would need to do is take 3 measurements and then go to the satellite image. You would take a measurement perpendicular to your main door, and if you have a cell phone, that's quite easy. and then you turn and you try not to move forward or backwards, just rotate. Turn to see where you can first see the river and where you can last see the river. And you note those 3 angles. Then you look at the satellite and you should be able to tell what direction your perpendicular to your main door is. And then you correct your directions. And the reason I want you to do this 2-step is because Qi is an energy, is not affected by magnetic field, but magnetic north and true north are very different. And it's the true north that should tell you what's going on. And there are places on Earth where the difference between magnetic north and true north is over 15 degrees, and that can really screw up what you think is going on unless you know exactly where true north is. Now in this case, this is one of the few that actually are very clear on how you measure the water flow. Here we have, again, the main doors here. The idea is you take that facing direction and you cross the river, and then you measure the water flow in the center of the river. And that, of course, could be difficult to do, but you can do this via satellite too, because the water usually is flowing tangent to the curve. And so you just find that, and maybe this might even be straight at this point. Either way, that's how you do it. And in this case, if we assume again north is upwards, this is about 170 degrees. If north is upwards here, this is about maybe 210, maybe 220, something like this. And this is maybe 300 roughly. That's just a very rough estimate. Now, if you have the case where you had a meandering river and humans have decided to straighten it for their own purposes, it is still okay to have a straight piece in front of your house, even coming from very far away, so long as it's slow flowing. And if it used to be a meandering river, it's going to be slow flowing. So then you would just take this direction, and this direction is basically the same as this one. And so that's how you would be measuring incoming water. So that's basically it. I'd like to thank you for watching. And please feel free to contact me here if you have any questions, or visit my ad-free website, or you can also comment on this video. And if you subscribe, I will be having regular new videos for monthly activities, and also some new yearly and just plain new videos, especially in the Sanher in the near future. Thank you again for watching.